Hi, everybody. I'm Kurt Wilson. I'm your mayor of Roswell, Georgia. It's the beginning of 2023. Welcome to the new year. And as part of welcoming us to the new year, we want to look back a little bit at 2022 and celebrate what, in fact, was a historic year in Roswell, Georgia. Our priority was to inspire confidence that we, as a city, can work together to accomplish our community's best interest. I can report to you 12 months later, that because of the outstanding leadership of the City Council and the Roswell City staff, that this past year's accomplishments in 2022 have been staggering. In fact, I would submit to you that this City Council and Roswell City staff have accomplished more in the past 12 months in 2022 than have been accomplished in the past 12 years in the city. A year ago, we couldn't even dream of some of the following items been brought to fruition. The River Master Plan, conceived in 2016, it's a great plan. But the reality was there was not the political will, nor the finances, nor the solutions brought to make it happen. Your council and your senior staff in 22 made the River Master Plan a reality, and it will begin work in the beginning here of 2023.
Our river parks are some of the most beautiful parks in all of the city of Roswell. They are heavily used by our residents. These parks are going to be transformed in the next 5 years. You will see significant improvements to our athletic facilities and amenities such as fields, playgrounds, trails, the pool, and the restrooms. They will all be upgraded and improved for our residents. The city has deferred maintenance on its park assets, and in the last several years, it has really begun to show. You can see the wear and tear on our activity centers, on the fields, trails, really most any of the amenities are looking worn and needed to be replaced or upgraded. It is extremely important for the city of Roswell to maintain and enhance our parks systems. It is one of the main reasons people move to the city of Roswell and love living here. It is what helps make Roswell the #1 family-friendly community in all of America.
The Oxbow Action Plan. When we came into office last January, Oxbow was a disaster. 15 years in the making, $15.4 million already been spent, 33% completion.
There was zero going on at Oxbow. It was just sitting there with no progress. This mayor and council worked hard together in having to really deal with some tough truths and figure out how do we actually go ahead and finish that project, which was not moving forward at all. And with doing that, found out the final pieces that were still outstanding and set the goal that the realistic timeline was end of 2023. And we're very excited that, as you can see with the progress, we're certainly going to absolutely finally go ahead and finish Oxbow Road.
We knew it was a priority. This council and senior staff made it a priority, and within 65 days after coming in office from January 2nd last year, 2022, a plan was developed and delivered. And Oxbow will be delivered to you, my fellow residents, by Christmas of 2023. For those of you who've been driving up and down Highway 9, you've seen the dramatic progress. It is fantastic. Great thanks to the great leadership of the City Council and the senior staff. Full-time fire department, not even talked about with great regularity, but you can go back all the way back to 2007 when then Fire Chief Ricky Spencer said, this city needs a full-time fire department.
Being a resident of 21 years in Roswell, I have been hearing about our fire department for years. I am one of the few that's known that it's a part-time fire department. It made a lot of sense for this mayor and council to really look into the fire department and how well it operates. It's operating amazing under the circumstances of being a part-time department, but it's not as efficient as it should be for a city this size. It was not even a second thought for this mayor and council to move forward with a 5-year plan to transition from part-time to full-time. It'll alleviate a lot of problems that we're having with staffing, not because of the competency of our staff, but because they're working in other cities full-time. We get them on a part-time basis, and it makes it very difficult during high seasons such as the holidays, summer vacation, those type things, to continue to be staffed so that we can service our residents.
This council gets into place last year. What happens? 5-year plan to fully incorporate a full-time fire department, and funded year one in FY23 and just brought on 21 new captains. First part of the 5-year phase-in plan already executed, already accomplished, thanks to this great city council and staff. Roswell police pay best in class. Last year, when this council came into office, they said the very first thing to do is we're going to change the operational model of how we pay our police. Historically, our police have been medium to low in our region in terms of police pay. We say we're going to take them from the bottom to the medium to the top. And within months, this council passed and approved a 20% pay raise across the board for the Roswell City Police, making them the best paid police in the region at the time. So one of the things that we felt was so important for Roswell was to be intentional about what our growth like. We've heard a lot about how other cities have grown or not grown, the things other cities have done right or not done right, and certainly a lot of what Roswell has struggled with over the past several years. So we started with the end in mind and said, what does Roswell look like 20 years from now, 25 years from now? And so we said, let's work backwards and create a growth model and start with 4 economic pods that for the first time, not only did we create the pods, but we hired a master planner in the Sizemore Group and have started master planning with intentionality all the stakeholders to begin real intentional development with clarity of what those spaces are going to look like over the next 20 years. Zero-based budgeting is a fun term, but if you look at how most governments are run, whether at the federal level, the state level, the county level, or most municipalities throughout the United States, their budget basis is what we call incremental-based budgeting. When we came in office last year in January, we began the revision of the process as quick as we could because we only had 6 months to deliver a budget, so we started using priority-based budgeting. What does that mean?
Traditional budgeting involves companies using the prior year's budget as the template and then incrementally adding expenses to that budget to establish the next year's budget. Zero-based budgeting is a more holistic approach and a much more intense approach to the budgeting process. We are basically measuring the products and services that we are delivering to our residents, and we are actually able to identify the real costs associated with that, where you might not be able to capture that just incrementally looking at one department's budget over another department's budget. We already recognize some of the benefits of going towards zero-based budgeting in this last budget cycle, in that we were looking at items and we were able to reduce the millage rate this year for the first time in many, many years for the residents of our city.
The city of Roswell has undertaken the task of true zero-based budgeting for several purposes. One is to really take an honest look at how all service delivery options happen in the city. The second, full evaluation of all departments and functions. 3, a true attempt to organize this government for you as the residents of Roswell as efficiently and as effectively to powerfully deliver the most services it possibly can. There has been a strategic alignment of all the economic entities in the city of Roswell, from Roswell Inc. to the creation of an economic development director inside of City Hall, to the activation of a new development authority on the east side, to a strategic alignment with the existing development authority in downtown. And one of the things we felt that was so critical in our city was to create a strategic vision that was aligned and to stop the disparate activity that was happening in our city from an economic perspective.
We put together 7 fabulous minds who are just so excited to be helping Roswell position themselves in redevelopment. And we're talking about those exact nodes that we discussed and getting input from leaders in the industry in development and real estate, commercial and private real estate, and finance. And these are some bright minds that are really covering the rest of Roswell that the Downtown Development Authority did not cover. So now we've got a partnership, and the way Development Authority can help the city is there's bonding issues they can help with financially, there's tax abatements that can be utilized, but all of the things that they can do are for the benefit of the taxpayers, because the goal is to use those leverages to get things from developers that we want: green space, shorter buildings, better setbacks, things like that. So it's powerful to have that armamentarium now throughout the whole city with the Roswell Development Authority.
We have enough standalone apartments in our city. We have a lot. Matter of fact, we have more than any of our sister cities with the exception of Sandy Springs. And you said, we would like for you to stop approving new developments of standalone apartments. We understand there'll be some mixed-use developments and those might have some multifamily, but we, City Council, we want to remove the piece of having standalone apartments as an option inside of our zoning code, the UDC. Your council delivered on that this past year.
Going forward, any apartments that are requested, they're going to need to be a part of walkable mixed-use destinations. We have in the city of Roswell so many standalone apartment buildings, and it's clear the people of Roswell don't want to just see more traffic, they want to see destinations within Roswell. On the east side of Roswell, there are more apartments than single-family homes and townhomes combined, and this is the opportunity to make sure that instead of just more standalone apartments, that if there's going to be a request, it's going to be for mixed use, not just more standalone apartments.
This council, underneath the leadership of Lee Hills as the liaison for public safety, was, and this was never discussed before, but the leadership identified it and quickly dealt with it. And that was the very aggressive posture to what we call the dens of inequity. In other words, we had businesses operating in the city of Roswell that we knew about previously that were engaging in prostitution and basically harbingers of human trafficking. This council and senior leadership team did something about it. And those are being eliminated as you and I speak right now in our great city. So when we went to our retreat last year in February, we took with us all the plans that the city of Roswell had done from 2010 to 2021.
And we went back and really narrowed it down to about 40 plans that we've been really working off of, that the public had a lot of input on, and we're moving forward with those ideas. So I want to make it really clear that we are utilizing the public input that we've already spent so much time, energy, and money on.
We took the cost of actually what those plans cost you and I as taxpayers. If I remember, it was about $7.5 million over that 11-year period. Is that this council and the staff went through every one of these plans and said yes, no, or kill. And part of that is what you're going to see, I'm going to talk about in a minute. For example, Master Arts Plan, the Master Parks Plan, fantastic plans. And as a consequence of reviewing those, the council made a conscious decision to say, we're going to do these. We're going to make these happen. And you're already beginning to see the fruition of that, particularly with the Master Parks Plan. A big part of that was, how do you fund those? If you're going to have these great plans, how do you pay for it? So, did you know that between 1988 and 2022, the city of Roswell had $98 million of general obligation bonds? On first glance, you may say, that's great. Well, that's not a lot of money. The problem is, it's just like with your home or your business. When you have an asset in place, you got to replace that asset, and you have to continue to invest in that asset. So the city of Roswell, this incredibly wealthy city with tremendous resources, made a very crucial mistake. It had not continued to reinvest in itself. So it was so important this past year that the city leadership and the council and the staff came to you, our fellow residents, and said, we need to put $179.6 million of general obligation bonds on the table. $52 million of that was for public safety, $107.6 million of that was for Parks and Rec, and $20 million was for a parking garage. 3 different questions. And why? It was time that you and I as residents spent money that we hadn't spent if we wanted to keep up the quality of life that you and I say that we want. So I'm very proud to say that you, my fellow residents, that the city council here in Roswell and the senior staff, the senior leadership, really all the leadership of the staff, all worked very diligently on presenting the 3 bonds, the $107.6 million on the Parks and Rec, $52 million on public safety, police and fire, 911, and $20 million in a parking garage. And you, our fellow residents, passed those overwhelmingly. You passed the general obligation bond on the Parks and Rec at 74%. You passed the public safety bond on public safety for $52 million at 73%. You passed the parking garage bond for downtown Roswell at, I believe, 57%. Those are amazing numbers. And they speak to the commitment that you and I have as residents, and that the senior leadership team of the city council and of the senior leadership team and your staff has to make Roswell the #1 family community in America. I will tell you that you saw a highly functioning city council. You probably noticed the votes. Those votes don't come easy, by the way, my friends, but you probably noticed there were 5-0 votes on every important issue. Not because everybody was in lockstep agreement, but because people worked hard to find consensus, to work out the issues as your representatives, as your honest, hardworking fellow residents and elected representatives in a representative government. The least hardworking council member that you have, and I won't share their name, works 40 hours a week. It's a part-time gig. City council gets paid $18,000 a year. There's one council member that works 70 hours a week. These folks are committed. They are spending the time to get highly educated, highly informed, and then highly engaged to make the right decisions with one another and for you as our fellow residents, and working with the staff in an unprecedented manner. One of the things I think has been so exciting about 2022 is the elected leadership decided to take on the responsibility of understanding they're responsible for creating policy, that they have to have the political will and the political courage to make the decisions, to be intentional about what are the consequences could or could not be by not making decisions or by some of the decisions they might make, and recognizing that they have to have the courage to make tough decisions. They're responsible for making decisions. I'm gonna tell you, I think as a resident of Roswell since 1998, I'm excited about that. I'm excited by the political courage and the political will. I'm excited by the unprecedented manner of how the council, the elected leadership, and the senior staff of Roswell work together. It's unprecedented. You probably saw that every 10 years, there's something called LOST, L-O-S-T, Local Option Sales Tax Negotiations, between the counties and the municipalities. All 15 cities in Fulton County stayed aligned in their negotiations with Fulton County. And it was challenging at times. But let me tell you who led the way. Who led the way? Your North Fulton cities, Milton, Alpharetta, Johns Creek, Mountain Park, and Roswell, stuck together in a way that made a difference to the entire team. I'd like to thank my friend and the city administrator, Randy Knighton, and the entire Roswell city staff. They've done a remarkable job. I'd like to thank my colleagues, Councilmember Mike Palermo, Councilmember Christine Hall, Councilmember Will Mortland, Councilmember Peter Vanstrom, Councilmember Lee Hills. These 5 people are rock stars. And the work they did in 2022, when you see them, thank them. They did an amazing job. By the way, we are going to miss Marcelo Zapato, who resigned in 2022 due to health reasons. We're going to miss Marcelo. And he was replaced in November by our newest council member, Councilmember Sarah Beeson. Welcome her, and we look forward to what Sarah gets done with the rest of this leadership team in 2023. If you think 2022 was something, and I hope you do, because I hope you get a full understanding of what this amazing city council and senior leadership team on the Roswell staff has done. If you think that was amazing, well, get ready for 2023. They're about to unveil a fantastic plan that I think will be as equally, if not more impressive than 2022. Thanks for listening to me. God bless the city of Roswell. God bless our great country, and God bless you. Thanks so much.